kind of thing. So this will be World 7 and 8. This should probably go fairly quickly because I guess World 7 might take a little bit of time. There's a little bit to talk about in terms of a couple of usages of items, but I mean, World 8 is pretty straightforward. There's nothing really, nothing super much to talk about there. But we'll go ahead and get started here. Let me get this set up. Okay. So we'll start off in World 7 then. Ideally, you're going to start World 7 as Big Mario. It's pretty easy to make sure you're Big Mario. And then you'll obviously just do the clip here. There we go. I was thinking this is gonna take like 20 tries since I'm trying to just do the level. Okay. So now there's a couple of schools of thought on how to proceed in the next few levels. What I'll show is what is the fastest strat, and what I do, what pretty much all of the top runners do as well, but there's also another strat. I don't know exactly what the difference in time is, but it's definitely, I think, a bit easier. So going into 7-2, you'll want to use a star and proceed through the level like this. And I didn't get the speed. Can I? Can't give myself a power-up. Alright. I'm just gonna I'm gonna die and show this again, just to give an idea. I know this isn't gonna be super heavy on what to do with strats, but since this level kind of plays out differently depending on what strat you go with, it might be useful. What's up, Rex? Supposed to clear that gap, but I didn't. It's good practice anyways, I guess. I'm not getting this speed, dude. Dang. You gonna do speedrun attempts? I believe after I'm done recording this, I'm gonna do some Metroid Prime. I'll see what kind of time I have left. I didn't give myself a whole bunch of extra lives. I might game over. Oh well. There we go. So basically you use the star to gain P speed and get over to across that big gap pretty quickly without having to go down into those pipes. That's the reason for the star usage there. Probably die in 7-3. Okay, we're fine. Yo, no problem, Kanata. I would say that this guide is going to be kind of more focused on, I don't know if you guys have seen the first two parts, but this is kind of focused more on how to use your items and stuff like that, as opposed to level strats. I mean, obviously you'll see level strats as I go through the worlds, but Chuck and Losso's guide would probably be better if you're trying to learn, you know, individual strats. But I kind of wanted to do something for people that maybe know strats, but don't really have an idea of best ways to use items. Because I find that that's something that a lot of people do, is they kind of get confused as to where to use items and stuff like that. So this guide is kind of hopefully going to help people out with that. So you do 7-3, nothing to talk about there really. Cloud over 7-4, it's a super long underwater auto-scroller. It's probably the worst level in the game, so you definitely don't want to do it. Nice. So then you're going to want to P-wing this fort here. This is another one of the levels that requires flying. So instead of having to go find the leaf wherever it happens to be, using a P-wing is the best option here. So pretty straightforward with the P-wing. Just fly up to the pipe and you're good to go. Nice. And then 7-6, you'll also use a P-wing. This is a level that you can fly over and skip pretty much all of it. So the middle section of this world is really straightforward. It's just really the first part and the very end part is kind of where the strats differ. But the middle part of this world is pretty straightforward. So in 7-8, you're going to want to start the level with a star. So you should always be Raccoon Mario with a star coming into this level. And I lost my P-speed, but we're okay. And then you want to avoid getting hit if possible, but if you do take one hit, it's not the end of the world. Alright. Just gonna YOLO it. I mean, that's certainly an option if that's what you want to do. It's up to you. It's up to you. So now the fastest strat is to cloud over 7-9 and go to the fortress. So that's what I'll do. I'll talk about differences in strats here after we kind of go through it. I'm going to play this safe because I definitely don't want to die here. Just want to get through the level here. What's up, Dan? Alright, and then after that, you still should have a music box in your inventory, so go ahead and use that to skip past this plant guy and go straight to the castle. So that's the optimal World 7 strategy in terms of item usage and stuff like that. But there are a lot of different things to talk about in this world, especially for newer runners. So I'll go over those now just to kind of show off your different options that you have. If you take a hit on Lemmy or something like that, and you come into 7-1 small, you're just gonna have to do the level. You don't really have any options otherwise. It's just what you're gonna have to do. I'll skip over that. It's nothing important, but where the differences can lie here is in 7-2. Instead of using the star and trying to go for that P-speed strat that I did, you can actually use a P-wing in this level in order to fly over that gap. Now this isn't going to be the fastest way to do these strats because I never learned these strats. I always learned the star way. So don't try to emulate this, but it's just to show that right there you can just fly over it nice and easy. And then you go down. I don't use Windows 10, so I don't know, man. So that makes 7-2 a lot easier, obviously, but where the trouble is gonna start to come in is 7-3 in the fortress. This is why this strategy is overall a bit slower. Since you want to keep this tail by any means necessary if you're doing this strat. So to do 7-3, you're going to want to use the stars in the level in order to get through it without taking a hit while still going relatively fast. I don't remember how many you need to get. I'm just going to get all of them. Like I said, I don't know this strat very well, so... Is there one there? No, there isn't. Okay. I guess you just kind of have to wing it here. Alright, that's one way through the level. I think Lasso goes over the actual strats of how to get through this level, because I believe this is what he does. So if you want a good idea how to do those strats, check his guide. And then again, you'll cloud over 7-4. There's going to be no change there, obviously. But the final change for going this route is going to be in Fort F1. Since you already have a tail, we don't need to use the P-wing to get a tail and fly up. Just one thing to note is you want to kind of jump into some bricks. That way, when you come into this room, you can start your P-speed immediately. If you just run through that first room, you'll get P-speed too early and you'll run out before you can fly up to the pipe. It's really the only difference in the level if you come in with a regular tail versus a P-wing. And then from here, you're back on the same path. You'll P-wing over 7-6, and you'll be, back on the same track as using the star and then the P-wing later. All right. So, yeah, 7-8 will be the same. Like I said, you should always have a star and a leaf to start that stage. So there should never be any trouble with that. So I'll skip over that and we'll talk about 7-9 and 7F2. Now, like I did previously, I clouded over 7-9 and did 7F2. And while that's the fastest strat, it's also a very, very, very risky strat. If you die in the fortress, which is can be easy to do, honestly. It's a tricky fortress, and you have lava floors everywhere. So dying there is not not out of the question at all. You'll go back to 7-8, or back to where 7-8 is, and then you've basically lost your cloud. You have to do 7-9 and the fortress then. So what I would suggest for newer runners, even though this level is kind of slow, I would suggest starting with 7-9 and then clouding over the fortress. That way you know for sure that you won't have to redo levels and basically waste your cloud. Yeah, this is the one situation with the cloud where it's maybe advantageous to do the slower level just because of how much easier it is. So if you've kept your leaf in 7-8, you can use it to fly up here and skip most of the first part. Makes things a bit easier. You can also try your luck with clipping in 7-9. 7-9 is technically faster if you can do the clips, but I would not recommend it, as the clips are... There's 4 clips you have to do, and you can't make too many mistakes in order to have it faster. So you're probably better off just going through the maze. There you go. So obviously it's a fair bit slower than the fortress, but there's really no risk of dying or anything like that, so it's definitely a safer option. And then in this case, you would use your music box again to put that guy to sleep. Use your cloud to skip over the fortress and go straight to the castle. So there you go. That's it. There's not a whole else to talk about. You use a lot of items in this world, so there's not too many. There's not too many times where you'll have to get a backup power-up or something like that. Yeah, there really isn't. One option I will say, if you do happen to have an extra star lying around from either World 6 or World 5 or World 4, whichever one of those two you do. If you happen to have an extra star around, and you do want to go for the faster strat, using a star at the beginning of 7F2 is a good idea. Lets you get to that it lets you get to the star in the level really safely. So that's one spot where I would use it. Trying to think of anything else. There really isn't too much else. This world is pretty. There's not a whole lot of backups necessary in World 7. Most of the levels you use items for, so you can get through it pretty easily. So let's move on to World 8 then. It might seem complicated, but after you do a few runs and attempts, World 7 will be one of the worlds that isn't too tricky to remember the strats for in terms of using items and whatnot. Yeah. So I should have given myself a bunch of lives again. Let's do that actually before I get started. Oh, one final thing to note on World 7, there are 2 power-up boxes in the airship, and both of them contain fire flowers. So you should come into World 8 with a fire flower. Which is very useful on these first auto scrollers. This power-up box has a leaf in it. I would avoid it unless you happen to be Big Mario or Small Mario and get the mushroom. If you've got fire already, you're good to go, so don't worry about it. But if you do need an extra hit, it's worth it. Nice, dude. What's up, Bobner? Yo, we got Boomerang. That's sick. Alright, so you get that star. We'll use that later in the world. But you always have that star available to you. I will talk about one backup strat in the boats here, and I'll try for it, but I won't guarantee that it's going to happen. If, like I said, you do lose your fire at some point, there is a backup fire flower in the boats, which is in this box right here, but it's very tricky to get. We'll see if I can get this. Yo, dude, free trick. Yeah, that's pretty tough to do, but it's an option. It's maybe a little risky. You can take a hit there and end up being worse off, but if you're feeling bold and really want to have a fire flower, that's pretty much your option. Need to explain cutting lag. I'm not going to talk about it because it's not relevant to the goals of this guide. That's something discussed in other tutorials. So I won't bring up level strats too much. Boat swag is a very important strat that you should always do. I'm just kidding, it does nothing. But it's just a little fun there. Alright, so let's start talking about hands. I'm going to enter every hand, whether I get them or not, just to talk about them. And kind of what your options are here. Hopefully you'll get none, and you'll have firepower, and you'll be set for world record, but in the off chance that doesn't happen, the first hand You kind of just want to get through it. There's nothing... There is a power-up here, but it's a leaf if you're Fire Mario or better. Or Big Mario or better, so... Can't really do anything there. And there's really nothing you can do in the second hand either. There's no power-ups or anything in this one, so you just kind of have to jump and get across it. Alright, there is a slight backup with the third hand that I might do on occasion. If for some reason you lose fire up until this point, and you've gotten the first or the second hand, before moving on to the third hand, since you'll have one of the leaves from the hands, I usually like to use it. That way, if I get grabbed by the third hand here, I know for sure that this power-up box will be a flower, and I can get my firepower back. And if I don't get the third hand, then it's not a big deal either. Or at least it'll make the Air Force a bit easier as well. So if you happen to be Big Mario and you've gotten a hand before moving on to the third hand, I would use a tail then as an option. So Air Force, there's not really a whole lot to talk about with these auto scrollers, just because there's not too much for power-ups in there. You just gotta kind of find your groove with them and do them the same way every time. Or mess up like that. Alright. Now we're going to get into the meat of World 8. So this is where talking about strats and whatnot will be a bit useful. 8-1 is probably one of the hardest levels in the entire game, especially for a speedrun. I still have never learned the fastest strat for it. Ideally, you'll come in with a fire flower. I'll just show that off real quick. I'll try to go for the P-speed, but I'll probably miss it. But I'll at least try for it here. Oh, I didn't come out of the crouch quick enough. Oh, nice, dude. Didn't have enough momentum there. What? I disagree with that game. Yeah. 8-1's hard stage, man. It's a tough stage. It happened again. I'm shooting that fireball too late, I guess. Ah. Too soon that time. Alright, we got there. Now let's say for some reason you either come into this level with a tail or as Big Mario, one or the other. This is another good level if you have an extra star from either of the bros in the earlier levels. This is a really good spot to use it. Since you don't have Fire Flower, it can be tricky to get through those guys quickly, so having the star allows you to just jump through them easy peasy. And then about when it runs out, you can get back to what you're normally doing here. Of course I keep my P-speed when I have the tail and can't actually try the trick. Oh well. Get up there, Mario. Come on, man. There we go. Whatever. Okay. So, yeah, if you happen to have a star, it's good to use one in 8-1. If you don't have firepower. If you don't have firepower, you don't need to use a star. You can do it the same way. I will point out that there is a fire flower in this block over here to my right, but honestly, it's pretty hard to get and get out of relatively quickly. See, yeah, there's a lot to going on because you have to. Oops, I wasn't even paying attention. You gotta worry about all the piranha plants and all that stuff, and it's an option, but I don't know if I would go for it personally. But that there is a backup there. So 8-2, if you have firepower, you can go for the fast strat. I'll go over some of the. Nah. Messed up the strat, dude. Let's try this again. Yo. Yeah, that guy was trying to troll me. Alright. So that's the strat if you have firepower. Obviously, it's really important to have a fire flower for that last climb up, because otherwise getting past those piranha plants quickly is pretty hard. It's doable, but pretty difficult. So let's say you happen to come in with a mushroom. Let's say you take a hit in 8-1, you come in with a mushroom. You do have the option to try for this strat and try to damage boost through. I'll try it, but I'm not very good at it. I'll show what I normally do in this situation. Yeah, I lost all my speed there, so I have to wait. You can get through all of this quickly. Oh, and I got trolled by the sun at the end anyway, so there you go. But another option you have as Big Mario is to just take the little shortcut here. This is obviously a lot slower than doing the level normally, but it's also really safe. And if you run to the right, you can just go straight down to this pipe, and this will take you in the middle of the hill here. And with no sun to have to deal with either, so that's nice. If you come into this level small, which could happen if you happen to take a death on 8-1 or something like that, I would absolutely recommend going down the sand in this one. But instead of going to the right, head to the left. There's another pipe. Leads down a different secret area. And this has a power-up in it. Now, if I was small Mario, obviously this would be a mushroom. Big Mario gives you a leaf. So nothing you really want to have if you're Big Mario. But takes you to the same place. And then another final backup strat for 8-2. If you happen to get one of the hands, and you still have that tail left over, if you don't have firepower going into 8-2, using it in 8-2 here is a really good idea. It allows you to just fly over this gap here if you time your getting your P speed. Oops, I messed up there. Try that again. You kind of have to be a little careful with how you get your P speed for this, because if you get it too early, it won't quite work, and if you get it too late, it won't work either. There we go, that was pretty good. Yeah, it just allows you to fly up. You can fly as much as you want. I usually just go about as far as I can, and it takes me all the way over here. And there you go. Yo, thanks for the host. So now we'll talk about 8 Fortress. Ideally, you're going to want to come in with a Fire Flower. that may or may not happen, but ideally, let's say you're keeping good. Use the star that you got from the first auto-scroller, the tanks, before you enter this level. Allows you to safely get through this section with the waffles and not have to worry about taking a hit or anything like that. Let's see if I can get a 1 cycle here. Oop, definitely not going to get it now. Yeah. Actually, let me die and do that again. Alright, so ideally you'll get the 1 cycle here, and you'll keep your firepower, and you'll be all set to go. I'm gonna die to this Boom Boom because I need to show off backup strats, and if I beat the fortress, I won't be able to re-enter it here. So let's say you come into regardless if you come into the fortress with a mushroom or a tail, what you want to do is grab the fire flower right here. If you do it smoothly enough, you can still get through this section with the star power and not have to worry about it. But if you do make a mistake or two on your way, you might have to be a little careful. But then it's, exactly the same thing. Alright, let's say I take a hit here, or anywhere in this stage beforehand. This is your last chance to get fire, and fire, depending on what you do in Bowser's, can be very, very important. So if that happens, or if you miss that first cycle, this door before it has the last fire flower available in the game, so you just want to grab that and then head out. So I'm going to die again here. And then we'll talk about if you happen to be small. But maybe you've already picked up on it. You need to get the mushroom here, otherwise you can't really advance in the level, so get that mushroom. And then you have to do a 2 cycle basically in order to get fire back. So in that case, if you know you're doing a 2 cycle, I would grab that coin and just fall down and wait for it to be set up again. And get your fire flower and you're good to go. Swag clip. Alright. I believe I covered all my bases there, so let's keep going. Now, like I said, if you're doing the fire kill on Bowser, that's your last chance at a fire flower. So, if you're gonna try for a fire kill, make absolute sure that you leave the fortress with the fire flower. I mean, obviously you don't want to suicide and re-enter the fortress to try for it, but if there's a risk and you think it might get you hit, you're probably better off not taking the hit. I'll say it yet again, if you use the world famous patented glib super tank strat TM, this level is the freest level in the game. It's also another reason why having fire flower is pretty nice trying to think here how I want to do Bowser's Castle, though. Because there are a couple of different strats. But I'm wondering if I can show both of them. Dude, nice. You wrote a song about yourself, Artie. I'm pretty proud of you. I'm trying to think here if there's a way to do it. I guess I'm just gonna have to die to Bowser. So we'll go into Bowser's Castle like we've got fire kill going on here. I missed the door. Dang. Alright, so I think people go over this in the tutorial about doing a fire kill. Oh, I got hit right away. Okay, whatever. Well, I won't talk about fire kill too much anyways here. Since it's over in the tutorial. But this is the part. If you remember back to part 2 when I talked about the hammer suit in the mushroom house in 6.5, you want to use it here, just right before you enter the level. But the level plays out the same way. Dang, dude, castle clip impossible. The level plays out the same way as if you have fire flower. So there's no real change in strat. It's just really the Bowser fight. I don't remember if Chuck or Lasso's tutorial talks about doing the hammer kill, so I'll just show it off real quick. It's actually much easier than any other kill on Bowser. So, whoops. That question mark block down there is a leaf, so you generally, don't want to get it unless you have already lost your fire flower or your hammer suit. But hammer kill is really easy. You just run underneath Bowser and just spam hammers. There's probably a slightly faster way to do it, but for all intents and purposes, you don't really have to worry about it. Yeah, there's no way for me to die on this screen, though. So. Feeling on rad. This is actually a pretty good room to test out jumping mechanics. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, there's not too much to talk about in terms of strats for World 8. It's really all about execution and not boring yourself to death on the airships or the auto-scrollers, so. Alright, yeah, that was pretty short. But like I said, 7 and 8 are pretty straightforward compared to some of the other worlds, since it's mostly using items and stuff like that, as opposed to collecting items. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head to talk about. Hopefully, this might help somebody out if they're confused about the route. And don't don't take all of this for gospel, as this is what you have to do. Definitely feel free to improvise and kind of do what works for you. I just kind of wanted to display what the current fastest item setup is, and go over some optional backups to hopefully alleviate some of the stress of doing the route. This game is a lot more fun when you're not worrying about what items you need to use and stuff like that. I definitely struggled with that myself when I started learning this game, and I've seen other people do it too, where they just don't know, when they're supposed to use items and stuff like that. So I hopefully through this guide, maybe I can help kind of get you over that hump of just not knowing it at all what to do to being more comfortable with the route and being able to just have to focus on execution. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up.